Hello everybody and welcome to Gene's Reviews from a regular dude, where I do movie reviews, trailer reactions, I react to YouTube videos, and I review YouTube channels, and I do whatever the hell I want. Today I'm doing one. This is called from a channel called Beyond the Screen. I've been watching some videos from this channel lately, and they have, I think, 3 different hosts at different times. They have 2 female hosts and then a male host. And this one is Top Acting Fails of the Decade. Now let's see if this is really acting fails or if it's the writing or the directing, because they seem to, on these videos a lot, they seem to blame the actors a lot when, in my opinion, with the writing that they're given, it's kind of hard to make it very good, you know. But anyways, let's check this out right now.
A decade is a long time. 10 years. 10 years of great movies, from the Grand Budapest Hotel to Whiplash to Phantom Thread to Holy Motors to Spotlight. The 2010s onwards was a great time for cinema. However, it also marked a period of some of the worst movies in history, in particular some of the worst acting in history. So today on Top 10 Beyond the Screen, I'm going to be counting down our list of the top 10 biggest acting fails of the decade. Let's jump in. Coming in at number 10, Michael Fassbender, The Snowman. The Snowman is a 2017 psychological horror directed by Thomas Alfredson and stars Michael Fassbender, Rebecca Ferguson, Val Kilmer, and J.K. Simmons. A stellar cast, right? Sadly, the film was absolutely disastrous and quickly became one of the most hated movies of 2017. The director at least apologized for the mess, but that being said, it still has one of the worst finales to any film in recent history. Fassbender plays Detective Harry Holes, first of all, Harry Holes, who in the final moments of the movie has a showdown with a villain that is one-dimensional and boring. The movie then ends with the villain simply falling through a frozen lake. Yay, what a suspenseful ending. What was Fassbender thinking?
Okay, that should be one of the worst movies of the decade, not the worst acting. Just, you know, just my opinion.
Coming in at 9, Adam Sandler, Grown Ups 2. Grown Ups 2 is a 2013 comedy directed by Dennis Dugan, the man behind another movie coming up on our list. The film picks up right after the first movie and shows Lenny deciding to move his family back to his hometown with his friends. However, when he arrives, he faces many comical situations while his friends struggle to cope with their own issues. Now, it is no surprise to see Adam Sandler in a bad movie, but I can be honest and say I liked the first Grown Ups. I thought it was endearing and at times comical. There, I said it. I laughed. Okay, I laughed. I had joy. However, the second one was the polar opposite, with Sandler turning himself into a laughingstock as well as the rest of the cast. I mean, there's even a scene where a CGI deer urinates on Adam Sandler's face. Yeah, don't watch this movie. It's so bad. Although this movie's worse. Coming in at 8, Hugh Jackman, Movie 43. Okay, Movie 43 is a 2013.
For a minute. As far as Grown Ups 2, let's go back to that one for a minute. I haven't seen it, so I don't know, but with Adam Sandler, you really can't expect Academy Award material. Adam Sandler is just Adam Sandler in everything he's in, except for the movie Reign Over Me. I thought he was awesome in that. It was a really good dramatic role. He should do more stuff like that. He was actually really good in that movie, I thought. It also had Don Cheadle. But now she's going to this movie 43. I did start to watch that on Netflix a few years ago, and I shut it off. It is bad. It's terrible. The movie's bad, though. I don't know about the acting, just the movie's bad.
Anthology comedy produced by Peter Farrelly. The film features 14 different storylines, each one by a different director, including the likes of Elizabeth Banks, who thinks she can direct but clearly can't, Stephen Brill, Steve Carr, Rusty Cundiff, James Duffy, James Gunn, and more. The film also stars an ensemble cast including Elizabeth Banks, Kristen Bell, Gerard Butler, Anna Faris, Hugh Jackman, Kate Winslet, Emma Stone, Chloe Grace Moretz, and more. Considering the fact that the movie took more than a decade to make, you would imagine it would be somewhat good. good, right? Wrong. This film is perhaps one of the worst things I have ever seen in my whole life. However, arguably the worst parts include two of Hollywood's finest talents, Hugh Jackman and Kate Winslet. Jackman quite literally plays a man with a scrotum hanging from his chin in one of the worst comedy sketches ever written. To this day, no one quite knows why so many A-listers chose to star in this train wreck, but it happened and we should all just move on. I don't know what Jackman was thinking. The scrotum was right here. Coming in at 7, Kellen Lutz, The Legend of Hercules. It's easy to forget that Kellen Lutz exists simply because he is one of the worst actors of our generation. Quote me on that. The Legend of Hercules is a 2014 action film directed by Rennie Harlin and stars Kellen Lutz and literally no one else of merit. It of course follows Hercules, who is sold into slavery by his stepfather, and unknown to him, he possesses extraordinary strength. He then must use his powers to regain his lost kingdom. Fun times. Most predicted this to be a failure simply because it was released in January, which is typically the month that all the studios dump their trash, which is sad because January is my birthday month. But we can move on. I'm trash. And as expected,
Okay, this movie, it looks like he was cast because of his physique, because of the way he looks and everything. He actually looks a little bit like Liam Hemsworth. Just a little bit, and I'm sure that had something to do with it, the guy who plays Thor. But, yeah, I don't think people that are going to see that movie are going to see it for his acting anyway.
Legend of Hercules was a rock-bottom, big-budget Hollywood movie that reached the lows few managed to reach. Now, the movie itself cost $70 million to make, but in one scene in particular, the scene in which Hercules battles other gladiators in an arena, does not come across like a big-budget movie. Instead, it looks cheaply made and more like a PS1 video game. It is bad, folks. Really bad. Coming in at 6, Cara Delevingne's Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad is a 2016 superhero movie based on the DC Comics supervillain team of the same name. Directed by David Ayer and starring Will Smith, Jared Leto, Margot Robbie, Joel Kinnaman, Viola Davis, Jai Courtney, and Cara Delevingne, the film itself was terrible, and yes, perhaps Jared Leto was one of the worst, but in my opinion, the worst of the worst was Cara Delevingne. She can't act, but we are still pretending that she can. Stay in your lane. The movie itself was soulless, poorly made, and felt rushed. The editing was atrocious, even I would have pieced together something more competent, but let's discuss Enchantress. It's a howling awful character with even worse CGI, which was woefully unscary. Not to mention Cara's acting was some of the worst I've ever seen, making Leto's portrayal of the Joker seem standout in my opinion. Suicide Squad was by far the worst superhero movie of the 2010s. R.I.P. Coming in at 5, Alexandra Daddario, Texas Chainsaw 3D. Texas Chainsaw 3D is a 2013 slasher film directed by John Lussenhop and stars Alexandra Daddario, Scott Eastwood, Gunnar Hansen, and that's about it. The movie is the 7th installment in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise and was presented in 3D for no particular reason at all. The story centers on Heather, who discovers that she was adopted after learning of an inheritance from a long-lost grandmother. She subsequently takes a road trip with her friends to collect the inheritance, unaware that it includes her cousin, Leatherface. The movie is essentially a mishmash of dumb decisions, stupid characters, and terrible writing. Not to mention endless plot holes. However, the worst part comes at the end of the movie, when the town's corrupt sheriff leaves Heather tied up for him as bait. But once Leatherface arrives and realizes Heather's his cousin, he frees her and then they team up against the sheriff. The movie is so dumb, and Alexandra Daddario is tough to watch. She's honestly tough to watch in everything. She's very pretty though, so. Coming in at 4, Jamie Dornan, 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Grey is one of the most R-rated franchises in movie history, and yes, it was a commercial success, but that doesn't mean it was a good franchise. Oh no. 50 Shades is probably one of the worst romance movies in history that could easily be dubbed as a comedy. However, the franchise's greatest feat is managing to make sadomasochism boring and far from erotic. Not to mention it stars Jamie Dornan, a superb actor famous for appearing in works such as The Fall alongside Gillian Anderson, and an incredible show. However, it seems that he couldn't even bring his acting chops to this series, with everyone, even the director, seemingly giving up. I'm bored even talking about it. Coming in.
Okay, that's another one that in my opinion, now this is only my opinion, but the writing was probably bad. The directing was probably bad. They probably directed him to act the way that he acted. And I know a lot of women really liked the 50 Shades movies because he's sexy to them. That's all that movie was trying to do. So to say that his acting was bad, it was probably bad because he was directed that way.
At number 3, Al Pacino, Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill
Another
is a
one that
2011
didn't even
comedy
bother
directed
with.
by Dennis Dugan and starring Adam Sandler and the legend that is Al Pacino. The plot follows an ad executive whose life takes a turn when his annoying twin sister comes to visit for Thanksgiving. The movie was of course panned by critics and is considered to be one of the worst films ever made. Not to mention, it won every single Razzie Award that year, which is quite the feat. The film is awful throughout, but there is one element that takes things even further into a world where comedy dies. Al Pacino. Al Pacino is in the movie playing himself, and he falls in love with Jill, who is technically just
like
Adam
a cash
Sandler
grab
dressed
to
up
me.
as a woman. It is sad to see such a brilliant actor take such an abrupt turn in their career. Hopefully this doesn't become a trend. Get it together, Al. Coming in at 2, Kristen Stewart, The Twilight Saga. The Twilight Saga lasted from 2008 to 2012 and is a series of 5 romance fantasy films based on 4 novels by Stephanie Meyer. The films of course star Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson and follows the characters of Bella Swan, a human, and Edward Cullen, a vampire, who fall in love and cause a lot of problems in their respective worlds. The movies are bad. Really bad, but I will say that I did enjoy the final movie, Breaking Dawn Part 2. Like, I will admit that. I feel the shame, but I admit it. However, let's discuss Breaking Dawn Part 1, which was a show, although still better than New Moon. In this one, Bella and Edward finally wed and go on their honeymoon. The first half of the movie is quite literally filled with romantic montages, them having sex, including the couple playing chess. There's like 30 minutes of them playing chess. Not to mention the dialogue is atrocious. Bella then gets knocked up after getting all intimate with the vampire, and then everything goes even further downhill. Honestly, when you look at the career Kristen Stewart has now, it hurts to look back at her days as Bella Swan. And finally coming in at number 1, Bruce Willis, A Good Day to Die Hard. A Good Day to Die Hard is a 2013 action thriller and 5th and final installment in the Die Hard franchise. The main plot finds John McClane traveling to Russia to get his estranged son, Jack, an undercover CIA agent, out of prison. He is soon caught in the crossfire of a global terrorist plot. It's easy to pretend this film doesn't exist because it is atrociously written and staggeringly soulless, not to mention straight up boring. Upon release, Die Hard 5 cemented itself as one of the worst movies of all time, with Bruce Willis presumably having major regrets. In general, the movie is heartbreaking for longtime lovers of the Die Hard series, with the film utterly destroying the franchise in one quick swoop. Not to mention Bruce Willis's career. Where is he now, guys?
I don't think
Can you
he
find
cares.
him? Didn't think so. Well, there we
Okay, and as far as that Die Hard movie, I know I saw it. I really don't remember much about it. I remember that the guy who plays his son was in the Godzilla remake. And they made a big deal out of him. I can't remember what his name is. But as far as, like, where is Bruce Willis now? He's spending his money. That's where he's at. How about a joke? A guy goes into the doctor, says, "Doctor, I got it bad. I haven't been able to go to the bathroom in like a week. 7 whole days I haven't been able to go to the bathroom." Doctor gives him these suppositories and says, "Come back and see me next week." So the guy comes back the next week and says, "Doc, I don't know. It's still not working. I don't know what's wrong, you know." And the doctor says, "Well, it should be working. Are you sure you're taking them right?" And the guy says, "Well, of course I'm taking them right. What do you think I'm going to do? Shove them up my ass?" Thank you, everybody. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hashtag Mean Gene, all that fun stuff. And I will see you next time.
Wow!